Okay, so just letting you guys know how this is going to work. First, I'm just going to break down a few plays from JJ Watt, sort of talk about who I think he is as a player currently, and then I'll talk about sort of where he might end up going. So we'll start off with this play. We're going to start off with a rushing play because one of the things about JJ Watt, which I think is so underrated and it's so good about him, is how good he is as just a run defender. He's electric as a run defender, and he's still one of the best in the league even now today. Watch how once this play starts, it's really, Watt's hands. It's amazing how Watt just has the perfect combination of, he's so technically smooth and also just has the physical tools where there's not really a lot of guys who have that combination. And it's part of why when he was in his prime, he was, the best player in football. So anyways, he has his right hand sort of on the left tackle's left shoulder pad, and that's what he's going to do to try to clog up the gap that Derrick Henry is trying to run to. And watch how he just finishes this off, makes a quick tackle. Henry has nowhere to go. It's just plays like that are, these highlight reel level plays that Watt can make consistently. And he didn't get too many opportunities to make these types of plays because against Houston, just run to the other side. They didn't have, Merciless is good too, but they don't have a ton of other guys that could really help you out. So it's very easy to game plan when an opposing team only has really one guy that you need to be fearful of. But now I want to show this one because when Watt had one-on-one opportunities, he more than made the most of them, I felt like. This is a good example where this is going to be a one-on-one matchup with the left tackle. The reason for this is you see how Houston is sort of showing a blitz, which now means that there's probably going to be a one-on-one matchup. So, everyone just has a guy, and then if the guy who you're supposed to block ends up not rushing, then you just find someone else to block. And in this situation, it is a blitz, so this is going to guarantee Watt gets a one-on-one matchup. Watch right when this play starts, and notice how Watt, it's really his right hand that you're going to want to take a look at, how he's sort of able to just get his right hand and get it so that he can grab on to the left tackle's left arm, and in doing this, Watt can kind of pull off a quick rip move where Watt gets his left arm underneath that outstretched left arm of the tackle, and then try to get the Tannehill. He pulls it off quickly, and he is able to get a quick sack and knocks the ball out. And I swear, Watt's just one of those guys where it seems like a high percentage of his sacks end up also getting the ball out. Don't know what it is. It seemingly is random, or not random, but, there seemingly should be a lot of luck involved. But for some reason, there's some guys that just seem to get those types of plays more often than not. I also want to talk about this play because I think this play is a good example of he's going up against the right tackle, and this is something Watt should always be able to do, honestly. This is something that I feel like there is a pretty good opportunity of him being able to pull these types of plays off consistently even further down the road. Keep in mind, he's currently 31. He's not some ancient player who's playing on his last legs. It feels like he's older than he actually is, and in fairness, he's about to turn 32, but still, it feels like he's like 37 or something. It's not quite that case, and I think we feel that way because of all the injuries that have kind of derailed part of his career. But it's not that crazy to think he could still end up playing for like 3-4 more years. Anyway, watch right when this play starts. You see that Watt is able to he's going to do a bull rush right here. This is just strength. It's not so much footwork. It's not so much hands. It's just I'm stronger than you. And I think that's something that Watt could be able to consistently do. Because as he gets older, his footwork could potentially go. His speed could go a little bit. But as long as he still has his power, he'll be fine. And that is something that older edge rushers tend to still be able to do is bull rush, which he's really good at. And as you see, he does do a good bull rush right here, and that doesn't end up, directly leading to a sack, but it kind of did. It disrupted plays and allowed him to, allowed the sack to happen. So I think that's a good play. And one last play, we got to talk about his football IQ, and in this play, it's something we've seen him do a million times. He's going up against the right tackle, so, we've seen that a million times too, but that's not the important part of this play. Watch. Once this play starts, you see how Watt really, I think he kind of got off to a bit of a slow start. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Maybe he was supposed to drop back in coverage. I don't know. But one thing you do notice is that he looks over and he looks at the quarterback right here. He sees Gardner Minshew, who is currently looking over the middle of the field, and he notices Minshew's about to throw this football. So Watt moves all the way over to eventually deflect that pass. Just an incredible play, and that's what he can do. No one deflects passes at the line better than J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt should be in the Hall of Fame just for his ability to deflect passes at the line alone. Forget everything else. That's how good he is. So yeah, that's how I feel about J.J. Watt. I think he's a very good player, but then the question becomes, where should he sign? And I really, I think I would say four teams that make a lot of sense to me. The first, we'll have two honorable mentions. The first being Green Bay. I think that this has been sort of talked about, but it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Just cap wise, they would have to clear up the cap. They're currently, 11 million under because of the cap decrease. That hurts them. And also, I think that they don't really need a great edge rusher like J.J. Watt. You could always use one, but it's not necessarily a position of need, I don't think. They don't have a ton of positions of need. He would help them. I just don't know if they can make the cap work, and I don't know if it's worth it for them. And then the Cleveland Browns, this is another one that a lot of people are talking about. But again, it's kind of a similar situation. I just don't know how much they need an edge rusher like that, and they have plenty of other issues on that defense. But the flip side is that, hey, if you have Myles Garrett on one side and J.J. Watt on the other, you're not going to have to worry too much about a weak secondary, perhaps. So maybe you don't have to worry about it as much. I think that that's kind of the hope. So there's logic there, but for those two, it's a strong maybe for me, I would say. I also have number 4. This is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills does make sense. Again, they don't have a ton of cap space. While Cleveland had 20 million, I just don't know if they're going to use it on Watt. Buffalo, they have 1 million, or currently negative 1 million, but you can clear that up. You can find ways to make it work. And it's definitely a position of need. And I think J.J. Watt does kind of put this team directly back on the map and back in the, okay, they could win a Super Bowl type team. They're still there, but clearly getting a dominant edge rusher would be huge. So if Buffalo can find a way to get one in J.J. Watt, that would make sense. So they're number 4 here. Number 3, I have, these aren't in any particular order. These are just the top 4. But my next one would be Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I think Tampa Bay would much rather keep Shaq Barrett. He's younger and he's just a better pure pass rusher, even though Watts, I would say, is better in run defense, although, Barrett's good too. But Watt could be a great backup plan. If they don't think they're going to keep Barrett, they could then try to make a deal with J.J. Watt, which, maybe this is why we might not necessarily see J.J. Watt sign a contract just yet, because his leverage might actually go up if Tampa Bay doesn't sign Barrett. That's another team trying to get him. And for Tampa Bay, they could offer J.J. Watt a second year, which would mean that they can backload the contract and save a bunch of money this year when they are kind of against the cap a little bit. So it would be a downgrade. But again, when your backup plan is J.J. Watt, that's pretty good. So they're definitely one of the teams I could see getting him. The Indianapolis Colts are another one just because they have so much cap space. The Colts have currently $43 million in cap space. So their cap space is, ridiculous. Again, I just don't know if this is something they want to do. The Indianapolis Colts sort of as a whole don't love to go out and sign these big name free agents, and they're probably going to let Justin Houston walk. So I think you could argue just re-sign Houston, although I would actually say J.J. Watt is better at this point in both of their careers. So I think I'd probably rather have Watt, but they're an option. They make sense. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. And last, and probably the one that people would least like to see, but I think there is some logic, would be the New England Patriots. Having just a pure pass rusher who can still stop the run, it's something they lacked last season. And getting J.J. Watt, I think that he would maybe want to go play there, because I think that there is some sort of optimism in New England. And I could see this working out for him. I really could. This is one that this might be my pick, is the New England Patriots, because they have so much cap space, $62 million currently, so they can afford him, and they could pay more than anybody else. They don't historically love to do that, but they could do that, and they might have to pay a little bit more now, given the situation. And again, they could offer him a couple years. This is something that makes sense. I actually think the one I'll stick with is, I'll say, if the Buccaneers do not re-sign Shaq Barrett, then I think he goes to Tampa Bay. But if they do, I think it's probably the Bills or the Patriots, and I'll lean Patriots. I know it sounds crazy, but I actually think there's some logic there. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.